How you doing? Good morning. It's Friday. What am I doing here now? I might have to adjust the old camera there, yeah. Oh, mother of Jesus. Hang on. It's August 2nd, 2019, and I'm Richie Allen. How you doing? You well? Let me say hello to a few people very quickly, as has become the custom. Hi to Carla Gallagher. Carla, do you say Gallagher or Gallagher? Do you say Gallagher, hard G, or Gallagher? Because it annoys me when we hear about the Gallagher brothers. It's Gallagher. How you doing, Carla? Big baldy gammon, she says. Indeed. No, I'm in the superstar DJ mode at the moment. Hi, Nick Farrell, Matthew Hughes, Anonymous in Western Massachusetts. Thanks so much, mate, for the super chat. How you doing? Thanks, Anonymous. Matthew is catching up on Spotify. He's still on Tuesday's show. Thanks for letting me know where you listen to it, Matthew. I should ask people to do that more often. It would be nice to get a survey, even if it's not the most scientifically based survey, of where people access the program. iTunes, Spotify, Podomatic, the Truth Seeker app from the App Store. Hi to KT of KT and the Sunshine Band. Good morning, KT. Good morning to Jennifer Garcia, to 26. Lovely. Jason Williamson, who's just been watching David Icke being interviewed by Sean Atwood. It seems that Sean has some good interviews. He does, doesn't he? Sean's YouTube channel is definitely worth checking out. Sean Atwood. He's a lovely guy, Sean. What a story he has, eh? Wow, his own personal story. So he's interviewed David, has he? I'll check that out for sure. Hi to Just Some Guy, to Jesus Jones. How you doing, Jesus? Make sure your virus software is up to date. Indeed. Hi, Jake. Hi, Gary Mercer. Thanks, Gary. Two great guests yesterday, Pippa King and Anna Brees, of course, breesemedia.co.uk. Great lady as well. Hi to Mr. B16 Nick in Cyprus. The new James Bond is going to be a black woman, he says. Probably a gay black woman. Probably a trans black woman. No, I think in the narrative of the forthcoming James Bond film, plot spoiler here, plot spoiler, sound the alarm, plot spoiler. Apparently, for a very brief time when James is missing, because he's shagging the bejesus out of somebody, James is on the missing list, and his handle 007 is given to a black woman. That's just to piss people off, I suppose. But she's not really James Bond. She's not Jane Bond. Jane Bond. I miss Roger Moore as James Bond. I went to the cinema to watch A View to a Kill with Grace Jones. God, the women in A View to a Kill, do you remember? Grace Jones, the blonde woman. Can't remember the names. The blonde woman. Grace Jones. God, Grace was statuesque back in the day, wasn't she? Do you remember Grace Jones beating the piss out of Russell Hardy? Don't turn your back on me, you bastard! Brilliant television. God be with the days, you know, when you had live TV like that. Brilliant stuff. That's when telly was really telly. Hi, Peter Murphy. Matthew Hughes, thanks so much for the super chat donation, mate. I really appreciate that. Even my 9-year-old son asks me to put Richie on when we're on it in the car, does he? Oh, God. Oh, wow. Well, I suppose you do explain to him that it's not too clever to use bad language. But it's nice to know that your son listens into something a bit different. Thanks, Matthew, for saying that. Thank you very much. Dillip Funbar. How you doing, Dillip? Dean Thornby. How you doing? P. Berkeley. Andrew Brown. C. McGee. Sean Inchcliffe. Letra Blaze. Bruce Blunt. Richie, bald means bold, he says. Bruce, bald just sadly means bald. Peter Murphy is from Middlesbrough, and he says it's the asshole of the world. Come on, Pete. Pete, you can't say that. Thretha Glumberg, Kazi Barkley, Monty Mole, Gabriel Swift, Shash 1108, John and Sarah Stott. Pippa King was phenomenal last night. The information. Love that woman, says John. I love Pippa King. I have great time for Pippa. I love meticulously researched and briefed people. They're like Rolls Royces, aren't they? They're like Bentleys. As an interviewer, you bring them on and you know that they know what the bloody hell they're going to talk about. And Pippa King is at the top of that, no doubt about it. Right, Buenos Dias, Jennifer. I've lost, you see, it's gone all the way back up there now. I don't know where we are. Paul Alawi, Nigel Perrott. I've got to stop. Dr. Bill. How you doing, Dr. Bill? Cassie, of course, is in Glasgow. In Glasgow, right. I can't pause the chat where it is there. It just scrolls on. And then I do miss some very nice comments. And people think, oh, you didn't read out my comment. You were censoring me, were you? Yeah. No, I don't believe in censorship. I don't. Right. The Daily Mirror is where we'll begin today. The headline is Leave Now. This is a very serious situation for the let me just get the exact figures. Let me bring up the BBC. So if you're living in the UK, you'll have seen this story. This is happening in Derbyshire, by the way, just in case you don't know. They've called in the RAF to help in the event that a dam collapses. This is a Whaley Bridge Dam in near Toddbrook Reservoir in Derbyshire, or on Toddbrook Reservoir in Derbyshire. Part of the dam wall has collapsed because we've had torrential rain over the last few days. So you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands, even millions of gallons of water that could, basically flood this town if this dam collapses. And last night, the people of the area were told they were in mortal danger. So they were evacuated initially to a school nearby. So you've just got to hope for those people because, I can't imagine there's anything worse than that. Than your home maybe being destroyed. All that goes with that, the water damage, arguing with insurance companies, stress beyond belief. So RAF Chinook helicopters have been brought in and they're dropping sand, I believe, to try and build up the barrier there in the event that the collapse does become a total collapse. And if you go onto the BBC website, you'll see some kind of startling pictures there of what's going on. So good luck to those people there. I mean, that must be absolutely dreadful. Who needs that shit, Like I said on the radio show last night, sadly, there are those seeking to exploit it. The climate change hoaxers, as I think of them, have been using that story to say, well, look, this is absolute definitive proof. Anthropogenic climate change, man has done this, and we're going to have much more of this in the future. Dreadful stuff. So good luck to the folks there in Derbyshire. There you are, front page of the I paper. Same thing, Peak District town is evacuated. The Peak District is a beautiful place, by the way. We're on the edge of it, obviously in Greater Manchester, and the future Mrs. Allen and myself often bundled the jazz woman into the back of the old estate and drive for the Peak District because it's a wonderful place. Really is. Nature, fresh air, the smell of cow shit. There's nothing like the smell of cow shit, is there? Nothing like it. And there's nothing like that countryman, because everywhere you go there's a countryman standing in a field. Every time I'm in the Peak District, we'll walk down these lanes and there'll be a countryman standing in a field. No good reason for him being there whatsoever. He's not got a sheepdog with him. He's not got a tractor that he's just stepped out of. He's just standing there, and as you walk past, you'll get that. And I wonder, has the tourism board been employing guys to do that in the countryside? Maybe the Americans love it. You walk down these places, anywhere in the Peak District, and there'll be an old man with a flat cap, and he'll be like, right. Brilliant. The dog is barking. Tell me there's not anybody at the door, Jazz. There is, isn't there? There's somebody at the fucking door. Jesus Christ. Shall I go and check who's at the door? Because I'm expecting a delivery. Car crash television. Car crash. Is there somebody at the door, Jazz? There isn't. Who is it? Right, I don't think there is. I didn't hear any knock. And the bell is on. Okay, right, we'll carry on then. So that's the paper. Just randomly just growling for no reason in the corridor there. Right. Good stuff. Dementia. Must be dementia. Jazz has dementia. The Daily Telegraph. Carney accused of reviving Project Fear. This is Mark Carney, the Governor of the Bank of England. They call him the George Clooney of the banking world. I don't see it myself. I'm not attracted to him. Mark Carney. Have we got him? There he is. There's the story. Yeah, it's what they do, Look, we know that Boris Johnson is not going to take the country out of the European Union without a deal. But just to be on the safe side, we've had all these horror stories for the last, 3 years, but they've ramped up in the last few days. Unbelievable stories about the French, about the EU, about a Cold War, about lorries being stuck up somebody's arse near Dover and all the rest of it. And the pound is going to plummet and you won't be able to go on holidays and, oh God, somebody get a deal quick. And this guy plays into all that. Mark Carney. Look at him there, the George Clooney of the banking world. George Clooney, huh? Project Fear, yeah. And on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, 3 hours a day on social media linked to teen self-harm. Well, of course, these things, right? They physiologically change the brains of young people. It has been witnessed under MRI. Of course, it's driving them to depression. It's horrible. Those things, the effect it has on your eyes when you're reading them for a while. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Financial Times, Bank of England forecasts 33% chance of economy shrinking. Be afraid, be very afraid. Lovely. There's a story about who's going to be the next head of the IMF, by the way. Boris Johnson wants it to be George Osborne. That's the International Monetary Fund. It's a predatory financial service bank that preys on countries by loaning money to countries at interest, so countries can't pay it back. And then the IMF steals all the real assets in those countries, and then gives those assets on the cheap, sells them on the cheap to major corporations. That's how it works. It's not the opinion of a big baldy gammon. It's the truth. It's what it does. Would you like millions? Would you like billions to develop your roads? Your roads, would you? And the politicians who are traitors and should be hanging by their ankles in prisons in every capital city in the world. What the politicians do is they say, yes, give us the money. Because they know that they will get some of that money in kickbacks. So they will take millions and millions from the IMF, from the European Central Bank, billions, even trillions. Take all that money and then they will give contracts to developers to develop the country. No bid contracts often enough, which is completely corrupt, and they will get kickbacks. This is how it works. Then in a few years' time, the IMF and the ECB says, we need you to pay back that money now. We can't. Well, we'll take all the real assets in your country. Don't worry about that. At all. That's how it works. Children. That's how it works. Been talking about this for years. Murdered by mummy. This is a horrible story. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a story in the tabloids today about a woman who murdered her children because they were getting in the way of her sex life. Look at those 2 beautiful children there. This woman murdered them. And it looks very much like she was fed up of the children being a drain on her social and on her sex life. And that doesn't appear to be sensationalised tabloid trash. It really looks like that nutcase got rid of her children because they were an inconvenience to her. Mother of Jesus. And the story, if you want to read it, it's shocking, is in all the tabloids today, and you can read them for free. But don't waste your fucking time. There are enough bad things in the world without reading that stuff, right? The Cambridge graduate who jumped out of a plane was apparently hallucinating on malaria medication, I believe, antibiotics or something. Big story as well, they've been covering the tabloids. That's in the Sun, in the Mail. UK birth rate at 80-year low. We know this, don't we? And we have our theories, don't we? I'm coming back to that because some of the figures, well, they shocked even me. I would have thought I was unshockable, but I'm not. Thank God I'm not unshockable. Thank God there's some little bit of humanity left in me. I mean, I'm a big ignorant baldy bollocks. I'm well aware of it. A big mouthy gobsheen. Tough. You know, I'm tough. I have a tough exterior. But Christ, I can be still shocked by things. I was shocked today. I'll come back to that story in a minute. I will go back to the chat now as well in a second there. The Guardian revealed PM Alloy's firm operated Facebook disinformation network. linking Boris Johnson and friends of his to a company that spread disinformation about Brexit and other things online. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Officials warn UK is not ready for no deal. Project Fear, lovely. And it was great watching the cricket yesterday. Brilliant opening day at Edgbaston. England looked like they were in control early on. Australia batted first, and England were doing very well. They had them for 160 or 150 for 8 or for 7 or something like that. And then Steve Smith, the pariah, the man who was suspended for a year for cheating, Steve Smith stood up for the Aussies and got 144 runs, eventually leading Australia to 284. Marvellous. So it's all on now. England commenced today, 10 not out, chasing that 284. Not chasing anything, it's first innings. That's the lead. They are 274 runs behind. We love the cricket here. The Express, danger to life. Talked about that in Derbyshire. 634,789 people plead, save free TV licences. Boris, online petition, I presume. Haven't read the story. Let me break wind politely. Excuse me. Fizzy drinks. The Times. Look who's pictured on the front page of the Times. It's only young Khadija Mella, who rode a 25-1 winner at Goodwood yesterday. After we took the piss out of this story yesterday, why didn't we have a punt on Khadija? A fiver would have gotten us back 125 quid. She's the Muslim girl. Go on, son. Go on, girl. You go, girl. She was the first woman to ride in a major horse race wearing a hijab. And she only went and fucking won. 25-1. There she is. And she's on the front page of the Times. Blood tests can detect onset of Alzheimer's is another story on the front page of the Times. Young Khadija. Go on, kid. Brilliant stuff. She won the race. She fucking won. Tommy Robinson now. He was in the hole last night. He was in solitary. They threw him in a couple of loaves of bread this morning and a couple of sausages. And they said, hey, Tommy, she only went and fucking won the race. Tommy then this morning launched into a foul-mouthed tirade about Muslims, and they just gave him another 3 days in the hole. Marvellous. She won the race, and we didn't have any money on it. Why didn't we? Well, I really don't gamble. Money is hard enough to come by without going to a bookies and throwing it away. But my great friend and colleague Jean-Anne Crowley, Jean-Anne likes the occasional flutter. She's been known to have the occasional wager, Jean-Anne. Front page of the Star, Amanda, Slim Pills, Fury, Amanda Holden there. Britain's Got Talent, I think. And she's annoyed because her face and her name have been used to sell diet pills in the States. Diet pills that she hasn't endorsed. Okay. Go on, son. Right, let me scroll back and read some of your comments before we look at some of the stories. Can you stop putting so many comments on the super chat? Oh, God, because I have to scroll back, you see. Brexit made the damn fail, says Gabriel Swift. Good man. Just some guy said, Piers Corbyn recent interview on Talk Radio telling inconvenient truths again. Was he on Talk Radio, Piers? Was he? Good for him. Good for him. Lawrence King, how you doing, Lawrence? Okay. 2-6 says, so reads a dam. No mention of corporate asset stripping by the water company and under-investment in the infrastructure. Nope, it's climate change. Yes, mate, of course we talk about these things all the time. I only mentioned it the other day. The leaks, the the lack of spending on repairs, the fact that corporations can siphon billions of gallons of water, and then sell it back to us when they're buying it on the cheap from dodgy councils. Of course, mate. Hi to Una Monroe, who says that she can't really hear me this morning because the council are cutting down trees outside her house. Are they, Una? 5G, eh? 5G. Hi to Kelly Reid. How you doing, Kelly? Sean Hinchcliffe says, I'm not bold. I have a solar panel on me to combat climate change. That's the one. That is the one. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, huh? Hi to Sutty's Rehab. Patrick, how you doing, Patrick? Hi to Kiras from California. How you doing, pal? Are you listening in California? Good for you. You're up late. Hi to Wendy Bell. Enjoyed listening to Anna Brees last night. Thanks, Wendy. Jim Bob Jr. Let's see. Wide Awake Radio. How you doing, pal? Check out Wide Awake Radio. Lovely stuff. Thanks to Ethic Boxing for the super chat donation. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. It's very kind of you there. Let me go back up. Hi to Stoned Crow, to Robert Muldoon, to Mary Monica. How you doing, Mary? To Tuha De Dannon, to Guy Master Flex, Kevin Anson, Gary Mercer. Lovely. Stop paying the TV license, says Bruce Blunt. Lovely stuff. Okay. Right. What else do we have to talk about today? Well, there's a few interesting things. So Tommy Robinson then, and the far right or the alt-right, however they labelled themselves today. Meltdown that a Muslim woman won a big race at Glorious Goodwood. Meltdown. She shouldn't be allowed to wear the hijab. Somebody mentioned yesterday that the jockey and the horse were blinkered. The jockey and the horse were blinkered. That's a bone of contention. That's a sore point for me, that. Because a woman wearing the entire thing, the whole thing, burqa, the whole thing. And it was coming out like there. She looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was coming out like. Couldn't see left or right. Drove onto a main road last October and smashed up my Ford Focus estate. Nearly killed me. And she was definitely impeded by the garment she was wearing. And I have no problems with it at all. Wear what you want. I don't care. Because I just don't care. I genuinely don't. But when you're driving, don't wear that feckin' thing. Because you can't see the big baldy gammon in the Ford Focus estate. I mean, it's not like I'm not a big baldy gammon in a big Ford Focus estate like. So you just drive straight on. You probably did look left, but you couldn't see anything. Because you were dressed like a hermit. You were dressed like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Moroccan desert. Not good. Not good at all. So they're melting down. Greta. Not Greta. We'll talk about Greta Thunberg in a minute. Thunberg. They're melting down. Because a Muslim woman... I mean, the culture is gone now. It's gone. But didn't Robinson say that it's over in England, that he wanted to move to America? He's very thick, Tommy, isn't he? With all the convictions he has, he just won't be allowed into America. Tommy doesn't understand that because he's thick, you see. Can't go to America if you've got a criminal record. They just won't have you. They just won't have you over there. Got worse for Tommy yesterday. Just after they told him this morning that young Khadija Mella won the horse race at Glorious Goodwood, well, it got even worse because they told him that Miss England was won by an Indian woman. An Indian woman, born in India, lived there till she was 9, has just been crowned Miss England. And her name is Brasha Mukherjee. She's Brasha Mukherjee. She's from Derby. And she was crowned Miss England late last evening. The Daily Mail are all over it. What's happening to the country? What's happening to England? There she is, the winner of Miss England. Genius, apparently. She's got an IQ of 146, apparently. That makes her a genius, apparently. I did that Mensa IQ test many years ago. I'm not going to tell you what I scored on it because you won't believe me. You'll say, you're lying, Richie. You're lying, you'll say. So I'm not going to tell you what I got. But I will tell you it was more than 146. I will tell you that, right? That's the truth. But I don't put any stock in it. I don't give it any credence whatsoever. But yeah, I did it for the crack. I was asked to do it by my employer. My employer thought that I was in the pub quizzes that we used to attend. He said, "Oh, you've got some decent general knowledge there, Richie." And then they had this test. He said, "Do it." And then I did it. And then he gave me a bigger test. And I did it again. And I got a fairly big score, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really mean anything. But anyway, she's a junior doctor. I'm sure you might have done as well. I'm sure, it's not that uncommon to get big scores. Basha Mukherjee, 23, Miss England. Tommy's in absolute meltdown. Dreadful stuff. There she is. There she is in her hospital fatigues. Well, she looks fairly bored and uninspired by junior doctoring, doesn't she? And there she is with about £700 worth, and I don't mean in money's worth, I mean in weight, £700 worth of makeup slapped onto her face. What is the country coming to? Miss England is an Indian woman. Dreadful. Dreadful stuff. Dreadful. Right. Let's see. Do you want a good laugh? No, before I give you a good laugh. Birth rates at lowest in 80 years. Now, I was shocked. I said to you a few minutes ago that I was shocked at something. And I said, I'm glad that I'm still able. That I'm still shockable. So, we know that birth rates are on the wane. They're on the wane. And we know this because we are privy to information that most people don't hear or read because of where they get their news. And we know that male fertility is under attack, and it's declining all over the world. We know this. Not just male fertility, but female fertility as well. But speaking as a man, I'm very concerned about my own performance down there in my undercrackers. Very concerned about it because of my exposure to Wi-Fi and because of my exposure to medication that I've had to take for various things like allergies, because I've got chronic allergic reaction to dust and to stuff like that, and I often have to take something called Jesus Christ. This is tiredness now. Cetirizine hydrochloride, that's right. Cetirizine hydrochloride, which I think the brand name is Losec. No, it's not Losec. Jesus Christ. Losec is for reflux, isn't it? It's for reflux. Whatever the brand name is, Pirites or something. Anyway, all sorts of revelations in the last 18 months, which shocked me to be Jesus, that the medication for allergy or allergic reactions might be having a devastating effect on your sperm count. Wonderful. So we've had to have a look at that. So anyway, according to the Times and many other newspapers today, last year, 11.1 births per 1,000 people in the UK. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, right? Higher levels of infertility and conception problems caused by postponing, starting a family, people starting a family later, people living longer. They skirt around all the things that's really behind, all the real reasons behind the drop in fertility. None of them get a mention, of course, in the mainstream media today. Geoengineering, of course, right? Wi-Fi exposure, smart meters in homes. Give me a round of applause, by the way. We've had a screaming match, the future Mrs. Allen and I, with our old energy provider, because we've moved into this new house now, and we've told the previous energy supplier, we don't want to be with you anymore. Please come and take the smart meter, because the people we bought the house from, we haven't really bought it, of course, had a smart meter. So we said we want it out. They have to do this by law. They've taken an age to do it. So then we've gone to 2 or 3 prospective new energy providers, and only one of them says that they'll give us an old style meter, the old dial meter. Oh yeah, unbelievable. But we won't have a smart meter here, ever. Not as long as we're living here. That's what's going on. It's the depopulation agenda. And the depopulation agenda is so multifaceted. There are so many avenues, so many corridors that lead down to that agenda. You know, it's not just the medication we're taking, it's not just the geoengineering, it's not just the food. But yeah, it's by design that fertility is dropping. By design. Be under no illusion. What do you make of this story about Epstein? It's in all the papers today. That he wanted to father a super race. Do we really believe this? Is this, you know, is this a diversionary story, a diversionary tactic? You know, trying to divert us away from what Epstein was doing and whom he was doing it with. This notion that he was setting up a baby breeding facility as part of a scheme to create a super race. Do we really believe that? What do you think? Let me go back to the chat. Find that very strange today. You know, it kind of moves away from talking about his contacts and those who travelled on his private plane multiple times to the private islands and all the rest of it. It's a rather strange story. I'm not sure it's even backed up with any semblance of facts whatsoever. Right? Hi to Peter Murphy. Hi to Peter Murphy. An ethic boxing that says, don't become like Ken O'Keefe, Richie. I've got a great sense of humour, but what the fuck does that mean? Don't become like Ken O'Keefe? You might want to explain that. Ken O'Keefe is in the habit of saying to people, donate me money and I'll give it to Palestinian children, and then he keeps it all for himself. Or donate money to me and I will help you end war by legal means, and then he's turned himself into a crystal meth toking fucking junkie. So I don't know where this don't become Ken O'Keefe is. I don't ask you for any money. You don't have to give me any money. You can listen to my program for free. I don't claim that I can save the world. I don't claim that I've got a tablet for sale that's going to cure your herpes or clear up the geoengineering in your system. I don't do that. I don't sell supplements. I'm not selling anything. So I don't know where the Ken O'Keefe comparison comes from. But anyway, I'm sure there's a joke there that I've missed. And if there is, I apologise. You see Ken O'Keefe's latest videos? Come on, right? When I annihilated Ken O'Keefe on my radio 3 years ago, my radio show, after Max Egan had exposed him, by the way, that should have been game over. But no, people were stupid enough to keep giving Ken O'Keefe money. But now, Ken is telling porky pies about being arrested in Thailand and about being jailed just because he's Ken. His enemies are attacking him, telling lies about being arrested in America, and none of that happens. And then making videos where his teeth are falling out and his eyes are sunk into the back of his head. Cognitive dissonance. Lovely stuff. Hi to Matt Cook, it is diversionary bollocks. Sean says, Richie, I think they're trying to make Epstein so far-fetched that people just won't believe anything Epstein related. I think you're onto something. Oh, Ethic Boxing says, he's comparing me to Ken O'Keefe, so I was bragging about my IQ. All right, fair enough. I wasn't bragging. Not bragging at all. I did take the Mensa test and I scored highly on it, but I don't rate it as any real and trustworthy and, I don't know, credible judge of somebody's intelligence. I don't. The point I was making, I was being self-deprecating really. If I could score higher than the junior doctor, there's got to be something wrong with the bloody test, right? So I don't know. But I did score high on that test, yeah. I did indeed. I mean, I'm obviously not stupid, right? But I'm obviously not a genius either. I accept that, right? Far from genius, I would say. Hi to David Yates. Right, what else is in the papers today? So that's the Times. I think, I think it might be to make Epstein and the story around Epstein seem ridiculous and totally incredible. It's coming up for 5 minutes past 10. I mean, stories about race, they're getting more and more bizarre every day. Here's a story in RT. A lack of robot diversity is poisoning our soon-to-be overlords with bigotry, a study warns. So all these robots are coming off the assembly line and they're all white. And this is problematic. According to who? According to researchers from the Human Interface Technology Lab in New Zealand. And while there are legitimate reasons for making robots white, okay, it's also problematic. Because it plays into our inherent racism problem. Oh, Jesus. We need to make some more black robots, basically. Lest people melt down and into a pool of gelatinous goo. Imagine a world in which all the robots working in Africa or in India are white. Further imagine that these robots take over roles that involve authority. Clearly this would raise concerns about imperialism and white supremacy, said lead researcher Christoph Bartrek, telling CNN. Forget about the fact that robots might take over. Let's concern ourselves more with the fact that they're white and that they don't represent the many colours in the human rainbow. That's an RT. In RT. Crazy. This made me laugh. In RT, conspiracy theories cause extremism, according to the FBI. Now that's not new. Our governments and our media has been telling anybody who would listen for years now, ever since, well, before David Cameron addressed the United Nations in 2015. I mean, before then, yes, I accept that. But when Cameron addressed the United Nations in 2015 and really went to town on conspiracy theories, you might remember his keynote address to the UN. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. He talked about dangerous conspiracy theories about 9/11, how they had to be stopped, and how they fuel terrorism and all the rest of it, right? Anyway. So it ramped up after that. Conspiracy theories very likely will emerge, spread and evolve in the modern information marketplace, occasionally driving both groups and individual extremists to carry out criminal or violent acts. That's an FBI document that was originally found by Yahoo News. So conspiracy theories emerging, evolving in the modern information world will drive groups and individual extremists to carry out criminal or violent acts. This is going to make you laugh. If you read down further, forget the Clinton body count story. We talked about that, forget that. If you read a bit further down the story on RT, you'll read this. And this is a direct quotation from the FBI document. The not infrequent uncovering of real conspiracies or cover-ups involving illegal, harmful or unconstitutional activities by government officials or leading political figures is contributing to the spread of conspiracy theories. The agency acknowledges. Conspiracy theories are going to spread more and more online, and some people will commit violent acts because of those conspiracy theories. Yes, real conspiracies being uncovered involving real illegal, harmful or unconstitutional activities by the government is contributing to the whole thing. So we've got to shut down the internet because of the spreading of conspiracy theories, even though some of them are real and are actually whistleblowing real evidence of malfeasance and criminal activity by the governments. Couldn't make it up, could you? File that in the you couldn't make it up section. Unbelievable. Yeah, they're on the internet, yeah, saying all mad stuff. And some very real stuff too. That's uncovering some very real stuff. We better shut it down. Of course. God, I bet you I've missed a delivery now. Oh, Jesus. We've had more deliveries here than an Indian takeaway. Unbelievable. Greta Thunberg is really pissed off. I mean, she looks like a proper evil little bitch, doesn't she, Greta? Look at her there, look. Plotting, scheming, take over the world. Greta. And she's pissed off at a journalist called Andrew Bolt because he's written, quote, a deeply disturbing column, deeply disturbing to Greta, because he laughed at her, basically. He laughed at her disability, if she has one. Deeply disturbed. So she's been tweeting about it. He's a Murdoch man in Australia, this guy, Andrew Bolt. No relation to Usain Bolt, apparently. She's on a yacht, which is leaving a zero carbon footprint. She's on a yacht that's sailing across the Atlantic heading for the United Nations. She says zero carbon. But she's talking so much fucking shit on the yacht that it is murdering millions of species of fish as they throw it overboard, I would argue, about climate change. Greta, Off to the United Nations. So she's tweeting from this yacht. And she's deeply disturbed. What did he say? He's referred to her mental health, saying she was deeply disturbed, freakishly influential and strange. That's what he called her. Deeply disturbed, freakishly influential and strange. Is that unfair because she's 16? She tweeted, I am indeed deeply disturbed. She's got a way of staring, Greta Thunberg. It's like she's the spawn of the devil. It reminds me of The Omen with Gregory Peck. She's like Mrs. Blaylock. Do you remember Mrs. Blaylock? Mrs. Blaylock kept leaving the Rottweiler into the house, do you remember? Despite the fact that Mr. Thorne repeatedly told her, leave the fucking Rottweiler outside. She kept leaving it in to protect the evil little bastard Damien Thorne. And Greta Thunberg reminds me of Damien Thorne, spawn of the devil. She says, I am indeed deeply disturbed with the fact that these hate and conspiracy campaigns are allowed to go on and on and on. Just because we children communicate and act on the science. Where are the adults? This is like Children of the Corn, this, isn't it? It's like Children of the Corn. Forget the film, which was good. Malachi. He wants you too, Malachi. Forget all that. Read the short story by Stephen King. This is Children of the Corn. This is art. This is life imitating art. Richie's a conspiracy. Richie is a Mason. And all that. Yeah. So they're going to use these stories. Jennifer says, if you listen to Greta, you'll regret her. See what you did there, Jennifer? I see what you did there. Yeah. John Kirkham says, I hope the boat sinks. Ah, John, come on, John. Come on, there's no need for that. She's only 16, John. Wow. I'm going to unhide Jim Bob Jr.'s message, just for the laugh. I shouldn't. Who says she looks like Nurse Ratched? Sooty's Rehab says she looks like Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She does! She does, Louise Fletcher. She is Louise Fletcher as a young girl. Dreadful. Carl says, has anybody checked her scalp for 666? Wide Awake Radio. Mr. Thorne, your son was born of a jackal. That was a very scary scene, that, wasn't it? When the priest bursts his way into the embassy and tells Gregory Peck what's going on, or tries to anyway. And then he's followed by the storm, isn't he? What a film that was. What a film, The Omen. Terrified the bejesus out of me when I was a boy. Oh God, did that scare the shit out of me. The Exorcist didn't. We just laughed at The Exorcist because of all the bad language. I remember in the early 80s, my crazy mother, I say semi-affectionately now, semi-affectionately. She was a horror buff. And she left us watch The Exorcist. And she built it up all day long. Oh, you're going to be terrified now. Oh. We were like 7. Right. 8. Oh, I'm going to put this video on later on. The video in the top loader. Do you remember the video? Going to put the video on. Oh, Richard, you're going to be absolutely terrified now. I was scared as she was putting it on. And then when Linda Blair just started swearing and stuff, started giggling behind our hands, because if we were seen to be laughing, we would have got smacked for it. Just the way it was. So we were like this. And she thought we were terrified. The Exorcist was just a swear-a-thon, really. But The Omen scared the bejesus out of me. As did Omen 2, when he went off to military school with Lance Henriksen. Got some memory for crap like that. My old mate from Manchester, Paddy O'Hare. Paddy's into all that. He loves all that. He's one of those guys as well. He'll recall all that stuff. Graham Booth is the same. He'll recall all that stuff. Triggerwarning.tv. Recall names, you know. Yeah. Where have I gone? Fucking hell. It's rubbish, isn't it? I told you before, it's rubbish. What else is there? We're going to finish on a bit of madness. Let's see. Video nasties, says Matt. Yeah, nasties. I spit on your grave. Do you remember that was banned? Woman got raped. Woman survived. Woman went on killing spree. That was the plot. That's how it was sold. Cassie in Glasgow says, conspiracy theory. Richie, did you know that Justin Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son? Spitting image of each other. And Justin Trudeau's mother had connections with Castro. Just saying, says Cassie. Cassie, we'll have to look into that. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hi to Miriam Charty here. How you doing, Miriam? Did I mention Carl Rayner, Jason Derule, Alan Witham? Alan says, Richie, you know what? You know, Richie, and you still take prescription meds. I don't take any prescription medication. I'm not on any prescription medication. It's like Rain Man. You taking any prescription medication? And you have an IQ of over 140. I'm not sure how you know every word that comes out of Tommy Robinson's mouth either. Alan, I'm joking, mate. When I'm joking about the Muslim girl who won the horse race and I'm talking about Tommy in solitary, that's a joke. Now, it might be a very bad joke. I might be a very unfunny man, but it is a joke. Jesus wept, Alan. Jesus wept, my friend. And no, I don't take any prescription medication. No. I occasionally take a tablet that you get over the counter to cope with the fact that I break out in rashes because of my allergies. But that's about the size of it. Lovely. Thank you, Fred Luce. How you doing, Fred? Thanks for the super chat donation, my friend. Hi to Mary Monica. Yeah, I think you're talking about Robert Maxwell, right? Not Jordan Maxwell. Hi to Sam Posey in the US. How you doing, Sam Posey? Carla Gallagher, you never told me whether it's Gallagher or Gallagher, or at least I can't find it anyway. Right, one final story. We're approaching 20 past 10, and I'm going to go watch some cricket. And then those feet in ancient times. Come on, sing along. I know you don't know the words, so just, I don't either. La 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 la. Come on, the cricket. Go on, Joe Root. Well, boy, 9 times makes his drag queen debut after first experimenting with makeup and heels at 2 years old. The state of that, and by that I don't mean the little boy or the little girl or whatever he is or she is. Now, I'm not Mary Whitehouse. Not some Christian conservative. But that child who is 9 years of age has been made up specifically to attract interest, the interest of others, in a sexual way. Tell me I'm a crazy Christian conservative. That child has dressed up and is made up to induce a sexual attraction in a third party. Yes, this is Vincent Garcia from California, who went to Pride in Los Angeles last month or 6 weeks ago. Elizabeth encourages parents to allow children to express themselves, says she's proud of the amazing, strong son who knows exactly who he is. He's been experimenting with his mum since he was 2, walking around their house in horse stilettos since he was 2. Made his drag debut at LA Pride, Los Angeles Pride, and he wants to follow in the footsteps of RuPaul's Drag Race, which is a reality TV show, which I sadly came across on satellite TV recently. Now that child has been sexualized. Is that the term I should use? Or is there another term? Hypersexualized, that child. Posing provocatively, suggestively, designed to induce sexual attraction in a third party. Come on. What's wrong with the parents? It's not good, this, is it? Look. The mum wants children to grow up without gender stereotypes forced upon them. You're telling me that that's not a sexual image? While the young boy is thankfully mostly clothed, I would imagine that if I was to go onto the dark web and to copy and save pictures of boys like him, I would quite rightly, I think, be visited by the local constabulary. What the fuck is going on there? Huh? It's fairly dreadful, isn't it? And last winter, Caroline and myself went into the Christmas village in Manchester city centre. And again, I'm not Mary Whitehouse. Not one of these moral crusaders. But we came across a lot of very young children, particularly young girls obviously, wearing micro skirts and wearing knee-high boots with heels and stuff like that. And Caroline was horrified. And I said, could you imagine if we ever have a child, if we ever have a girl, I said, could you imagine the child going around dressed like that? I said, those are the clothes that if Caroline wears a microskirt and she wears a pair of knee-high boots, I'm sexually attracted to Caroline anyway. But I'm hyper-sexually attracted because I find it sexy, right? Who doesn't like a pair of stiletto boots on an attractive woman? But on a child! And that was at the Christmas market. This is crazy. And there's a big story there. You know, we don't have time to get into it now about what's really going on. But that is dreadful, I think. You know, and I'm not a backwards thinking, morally compromised or moral conservative. It's dreadful. It is absolutely dreadful. Right. Tarted up, pimped, says Lawrence. Yep. Nick says social services wouldn't deign to intervene. They wouldn't stoop to intervene, but they wouldn't dare to intervene either. They might applaud, he says. Tuhadeid Annan says that kid needs the shit kicked out of him. I know you're only joking, pal. Of course he doesn't. It's not good, is it? Not good. Right. Jennifer Garcia says, where's Daddy? It's a good question. Father's in a very difficult situation there. If the father is around, he might very well be. I don't know. It's dreadful. Mini Tranny, says Robert Muldoon. Jesus Christ. Right, that was it. I told you last night on the radio show I was going to do a live show with Dean this afternoon, Dean Anderson. But I haven't read his book. And I've just not had time to read it. But we have a long weekend. It's a bank holiday weekend this weekend. I'll be with you for Sunday for you. Don't panic. But I'll be off on Monday because it's a bank holiday. I don't work bank holidays. And I'm going to read the book. And then on Tuesday I'll have a chat with Dean. I've read a few pages of it and it's terrific what I've read so far. So we'll do that. This evening, I'm not finished work anyway. I'm doing a show with Maria Heller this evening around tea time. I'll be on with Maria. And people who subscribe to Maria will be able to hear that. I can't imagine why you'd want to listen to Maria. Maria's brilliant, but you've heard enough from me for one day, but do listen anyway. Maria's brilliant. Maria.net, MERIA.net. So I'm doing a show with her later on to talk about basically the news over here. I give her a flavour of the news over here, and I love having a chat with Maria. I love Maria Heller anyway. So look, have a good weekend. I think the weather will be okay. I think it'll be warm but not too warm, and get out and about in the sunshine and get away from the news, the dark news. All right. So that's it. I'm off to watch Salford City play their first home game tomorrow against Stevenage in League 2. Come on, Salford. I can't wait for that tomorrow morning. Me and Tez, my sparring partner, my partner in crime. That's what I'm doing for the weekend. Until Sunday morning then, on Sunday View, it's bye from me. Have a great weekend. Bye now.